Shalom. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Israelites, it's about obeying Yah's words, not to worship no other gods or religions. Israel must resist false God worship. And it's very important that we Israelites resist false God worship. And how you know that you are doing false God worship is if you're not worshiping the Creator that Prophet Abraham worship. And it's no exception. It's no exception. It's no exception, because if it was any other gods that was to come along that the Israelites were to worship, it would have been told to Prophet Abraham, it would have been told to Prophet Moses, it would have been told to all the prophets in the Tanakh. And there's no message meant about the Israelites worshiping a demigod. And I have proven over and over that the little few verses in Isaiah that Christianity try to use to support demigod worship are mistranslations. Mistranslations easy. And I want to explain why it's important for our adversaries to keep the Israelites on false God worship, is how the serpent and his descendants and people that believe in false religions prosper, is that the Israelites have to be up off Yah worship. And man, that's how the world is full of wickedness, is because the Israelites are off Yah worship. Once upon a time, man, the earth was subdued with Yah worship. And that everybody worship Almighty Yah. When you go back to back in the Genesis days and so forth, basically, after Prophet Noah, and his descendants, Prophet Noah and his descendants were Yah worshippers. And it's just that some kind of way, me and the serpent descendant after the floods got, back into the human population and started changing, what was Yah worship into false God worship, and then you're worshiping them, man, up under false titles. The serpent gonna be the creator of a whole lot of these religions that the folks believe in. But man, it's important that the Israelites worship like Prophet Abraham worship. Believe in the Creator that Prophet Abraham believed in, because that's what our prosperity and our whole existence basically come about, was to follow what Prophet Abraham, the standard that he set, and worship the Creator. After him would have subdued, the whole world, being that Prophet Abraham descendants was supposed to be a blessings to all nations of the earth, and that would have been the blessing, was to get him Yah worship. Man, I want to show in the Tanakh how Prophet Abraham was the example of Yah worship, and how he obeyed Almighty Yah words, and how that he didn't go to the left or the right with obeying Almighty Yah, and then how he was the standard for his descendants to be like him. Alright, what happened? How did the Israelites end up with false God worship? How did they end up with false God worship after having a long history of forefathers that worshiped the Creator and that was on track? How did the Israelites get off track? And I'm going to try to show this. I'm going to show this in a, Torah and Tanakh, how the Israelites, man, lost their way. And at what point did we start worshiping false gods to sell our faith to what we are today? And man, it goes back to Tanakh history, and it's well recorded. If you Israelites want to know why we messed up as a people, all you got to do is read the Tanakh, what they call the Old Testament. You read it and you'll know why we messed up. That's like if you a Negro, if you go by that title, Negro, Black, African American, and so forth, that the titles that was given to the transatlantic slave trade descendants, if you go by that title, it's very important that you wake up and start your ancient traditional belief in Yah worship like Prophet Abraham did, and get your life, you know what I'm saying, back together, and connect back to your ancestral worship, and how that it's important that we do that, because our prosperity and our existence depend on us, with Yah worship as stipulated in the Bible. That's one of the reasons why we messed up as a people today now, is because we didn't do Yah worship, and that how we forsaken Yah worship for Egyptian worship, and this is the consequences that we have today with the deplorable conditions that our people are in, the people from the transatlantic slave trade. All right, Israelites, I want to show, that Prophet Abraham was the example of Yah worship, and how he obeyed Almighty Yah and wouldn't worship no other gods. And went so, when the Creator told him, hey, give me your best son, he's really was finna show Isaac that he didn't want no human sacrifice, and so forth, and that how Isaac was finna be the standard for Yah worship after Prophet Abraham, and how it would pass down to Jacob, and then how that we know that if you're doing human sacrifices and so forth, that you're gonna be tied into false god worship, the serpent descendants creation, and how they worship, and that was going on in the promised land, and was one of the reasons why we Israelites were told to destroy the Canaanite tribes, is because the Canaanite tribes, men, and start associating they worship with serpent worship, and they had lost the way that they forefather Ham had, guided them, and Ham was the son of Prophet Noah. And we know the Prophet Noah did Yah worship, and that how he obeyed his voice when he built that structure that would save him and his household. All right, man. If you go to the book of Genesis, man, that'd be Genesis 22, and I'm gonna give a prime example of how Prophet Abraham, would worship Yah and would follow his words. And then we know that if Prophet Abraham followed Almighty Yah words, and that Almighty Yah, was with him, and was with him physically, and that how he followed his words, and that how Prophet Isaac followed his words, and that the Creator was with the Israelites all the way up till we decided to do Egyptian religion, and go into Africa to do it, and that how that we had written instructions on not to worship other gods and so forth, and how that would bring us destruction, and man, it happened because we didn't, listen to Yah words, and now that we chose the worship of other gods and false religions over the true Creator. And we see the deplorable conditions that we are in as a people throughout our captivity. All right, I mean, if we go to Genesis 22, and then you read, and it comes to pass after these things that Yah did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. Let me read this from the Tanakh and see, it's going to be a better read. Look, all right. Sometimes afterward, Yah put Abraham to the test. He put him to the test because all them other folks in this household, when they left Mesopotamia and coming to the Canaanite area, that them folks did Herman sacrifices and sent their kids to Moloch, men and so forth, and Baal and so forth, and that, they was practicing abortions, and that how the Creator didn't want that. So he finna show Prophet Abraham through Isaac, who would carry on the baton of Yah worship from his father Abraham, and that how Isaac would see that the Creator didn't want no human sacrifice from what he experienced with his father and so forth. And then how we know that, human sacrifice leads to false God worship, and that how all that's tied in to one and the same and so forth. And then how from those standards of not worshiping and sacrificing your kids, we're supposed to have established a strong relationship with the Creator. And then we wouldn't, need to worship no false gods and so forth. But when you start sinning and so forth and break away from truth, then that's when the multiple God systems start coming into your life. All right. Sometime afterward, Yah put Abraham to the test. He said to him, Abraham, and he answered, Here I am. And he said, Take your son, your favorite one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the heights that I will point out to you. Now we know that Ishmael was the firstborn, and that, that Prophet Abraham loved in him, you know what I'm saying, been the same, and that how he loved it, his son, and how that, Isaac, when he was born, because Isaac, that's like, it was important that Prophet Abraham and our mother Sarah had sent that Hamite away, because that Hamite it is part of that Egyptian Hagar and her son Ishmael. Even though he was a Hebrew from his father Abraham, but having a Hamite connection, and we supposed to go in and destroy the Canaanite tribes eventually wouldn't have been a good thing, because he was kindred and of stock of the Ham stock, as the Canaanite tribes were, that we was going in to destroy. So it makes sense that after our mother Sarah had a baby, Isaac, and she was a Hebrew. She was a Hebrew, and she had Isaac, which would make him pure Hebrew from his father Abraham, and his mother Sarah. He gonna be a pure Hebrew. So Almighty Yah know that the descendancy and inheritor of the land would go through him. So he would make him know not to worship false gods and so forth. And the false gods was tied in to the human sacrifices. And I'm going to read some of that, of what our ancestors was doing and what the people was doing in the land also. All right. Take your favorite one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the heights that I will point out to you. So early next morning, Abraham saddled his ass and took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac, and split the wood for the burnt offering, and he set out for the place of which Yah had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham said to his servants, You stay here with the ass, the boy, and I will go up there, and we will worship, and we will return to you. Abraham took the wood from the burnt offering and put it on his son Isaac. He himself took the firestone and the knife And the two walked off together. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, Father. And he answered, Yes, my son. And he said, Here are the firestone and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering? See, man, Isaac, he was real small. And he like, hey, where all this other stuff that goes with this sacrificing stuff? And then how he didn't have no idea, but he didn't know that Almighty Yah finna install belief in him, and how that he gonna be a strong believer, man, to keep this belief going in Yah worship. When even if Almighty Yah not around, is that his descendants, Isaac descendants through Jacob, would know to worship and cling on to the Creator, because Isaac, experienced this, and now he was saved. All right. And let's see. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, Father, and he answered, Yes, my son. And he said, Here are the firestone and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, Yah will see to the sheep for his burnt offerings, my son. Now, Isaac gonna know ain't nothing around. Ain't no sheep around, because his daddy ain't bring none. And they know that you don't usually catch no animals just come to you back then, and that how it would have been a miracle and so forth, and that how that he know that they didn't have no sheep. But Prophet Abraham told him, man, y'all gonna provide one. You know what I'm saying? He gonna provide one, but we know that Prophet Abraham intentions was to offer Isaac up like the Creator said, testing him, and that how he was going to do it, following Almighty Yah's word. All right. Yah will see to the sheep for his burnt offerings, my son. And the two of them walked on together. They arrived at the place of which Yah had told him, and Abraham built an altar there. And he laid out the wood. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar of the top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to slay his son. Then an angel of the Elohim called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, and now Isaac gonna hear this too. Here I am. And he said, Do not rise your hand against the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear Yah, since you have not withheld your son, your favorite one, from me. When Abraham looked up, his eyes fell upon a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering in the place of his son. And Abraham named the site Adonijah, which the present saying, On the mount of the Elohim there is vision. The angel of the Elohim called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, By myself I swear, the Elohim declared, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your favorite one, I will bestow my blessings upon you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven and the sands of the sea shore. And your descendants shall seize the gates of their foes, and all the nations of the earth shall bless themselves by your descendants, because you have obeyed my command. Abraham then returned to his servant. See, you see how following Almighty Yah's words, it is prosperity and safety and so forth, and how that is good. And then when he told the Israelites not to worship no other gods and only him, man, it's almost the same as Prophet Abraham willing to sacrifice his child for Yah worship. And then how we Israelites got it easy, because all we got to do is believe and have it in our heart to worship the Creator. Prophet Abraham, them straight up physical actions and so forth. And they, showed they worthiness to the Creator, and that how that they way of living was to make it easy for us, that all it would require is just belief in the Creator. All right, so we see that how Prophet Abraham was finna sacrifice his son just like the Creator told him, but it was to really show Isaac that the Creator don't want no human sacrifices and so forth. All right, so I want to prove that the idol worship and all that is tied into false god worship, and then that's what destroyed us Israelites. And I also want to show how Prophet Isaac called on the Creator. And if Prophet Isaac called on the Creator and would worship only Yah because his experience, he was saved. He was saved by Almighty Yah, even from his father, but he was saved. And then how he would install that belief in his son Jacob, who would install it in his sons. You know what I'm saying? The Israelites, man, the 12 tribes. You know what I'm saying? And that how that their descendants were supposed to keep the same momentum that go all the way back to Abraham alive. But what happened to us? What happened to us? We got messed up when our ancestors went into Egypt. And when we went into Egypt, we was Yah worshippers all the way up till we went into Egypt and sojourned there for that period of time. And then when we come out, we had Egyptian religion still attached to us, and it was still in our heritage, and that would cause us to fall and end up in the conditions we are in now, because we didn't resist false god worship. And the book of Jeremiah is explicit history on how we were in our last days. All right, man, I want to show me and Prophet Isaac, Prophet Isaac worshiping Almighty Yah, and how he trusted in Almighty Yah. Isaac, and then he would, want his sons, to do the same thing. When you go to Genesis, that'd be 26, I think. 24. 26, 24. And it says, and the Elohim appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the Yah of Abraham thy father, fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And then our father Isaac, this is what happened to our father Isaac, how he was blessed, is that when he went to to where Prophet Abraham sent him to get Rebecca, our mama, is that the people that was with him, they could dig wells and so forth, and wherever he dug a well, he got water out of it. And then when he started digging in the ground, when he came there, because water means prosperity if you got a lot of cattle and so forth. And then he would dig wells. Then Bethel, I think that's his name. He would come take the wells from him. His servants and so forth, and then he'll dig some more wells, and Amalek, and so forth. His people in Palestine, and then now Father Isaac would dig another well, and then they'll come take it, and then he'll dig another well, but he was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And wherever he dug, that he found water. And them Canaanites realized that Almighty Yah was with him. And that's what you will get that story from Genesis 26, about our father Isaac, and then how they tried to do him wrong. But wherever he went to go dig a well, he would hit water. And that would keep his cattle and his household and his prosperity going and so forth. And then the people realized that Almighty Yah was with him, because they would probably dig some wells. They even stopped up some of his wells. All right, this is the thing. Now, Prophet Isaac believed in Almighty Yah. And then when he would have two sons, Esau and Jacob, we know that the Israelites were not supposed to go into the Canaanite tribes, even though some of them did. And that would cause our disbelief in the Creator as outlined in Torah history, that the Creator said, don't go in unto them. Don't take their daughters or their sons, because they're going to turn you away from him. And history showed throughout Torah that that's what happened. That's what happened. But Isaac's son Esau would go over to the Canaanite tribes, and that's kind of like almost defeating the prophecy that Prophet Abraham was given about his descendants getting the land of Canaan. And we know that Edom went into the Canaanite tribes and mixed with them and became an adversary to the Israelite tribes and so forth. And that Esau would mostly be worshiping false gods, the Canaanite gods and so forth, because you don't find him nowhere in Torah history giving praise to the Creator or calling upon his name, and that how he mostly just assisted his father and his brother and them, and that how that he didn't worship the Creator going into the tribes that the the Israelites were supposed to destroy. You know, the tribes we were supposed to destroy. That Edom went into them. That Edom went into them, and then how Edom's disbelief and being the adversary to the Israelites, men, would come about. You know what I'm saying? From that, man, alone. From that alone. We Israelites, man, we all messed up because we didn't want to do right. We didn't want to do right by the Creator, and we would easily go worship false gods, and then that's what caused our captivity as a people. It's because we couldn't stop doing the false god worship. We couldn't stop doing the false god worship or resist it, and then that's what we was created, man, to do. All right, so we know that Isaac called. We know that Isaac called on Almighty Yah. And that Genesis 28 show you his history. He show you his history and how he overcame his adversaries by believing in Almighty Yah. All right. Now let me see. Genesis 28 is when Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him. Look, and Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and rise and go to Paddan-aram, to the house of Bethuel thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban thy mother's brother. So Edom had tried to defeat Almighty Yah's promised the prophet Abraham by going into the Canaanite tribes and so forth, and how that was a grief to our mother and father. Look, Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bishmet, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and Rebekah. So, man, that's not a good thing what Edom did, and Edom would, be defeating Prophet Abraham's prophecy with his descendants getting the land. He didn't say that we was going to mix in and get the land, but that Almighty Yah had already had it planned. All right, Israelites, we going to start mostly false god worship. It is going to come in when we went to Egypt and sojourned there. When we went to Egypt and sojourned there, because we see that our father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob just depended on the Creator. You know, Jacob, man, that's all he did, man, was, what the Creator told him. And he believed in Almighty Yah. And he would pass that knowledge on down to his sons and so forth. And let me see. Genesis, all right, 20. And give the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed. This is Genesis 28:4. And give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which Yah gave unto Abraham. See, so it was important that Jacob not mess with the Canaanite tribes as Edom did, because we was gonna get that land inherited and so forth. See, and gave thee the blessings, and give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which Yah gave unto Abraham. All right, so we know that it's important. We know that it's important not to follow or go into them Canaanite tribes, because them Canaanite tribes gonna be worshiping Baal and so forth, and that's something that the Creator was against. So I'm gonna go into that, but I just want to show that our Father, from Abraham all the way Isaac all the way to Jacob, worship Almighty Yah. So where did this false god worship come in with the Israelites later on? If our ancestors worship Yah, the Creator. All right, let's go to Genesis 43:14. Let's see what this say. All right, that this would be Genesis 43:14. Let's see. And Yah Almighty gave you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men took the presents. All right, so this is talking about Joseph's brothers when they was in Egypt. We know that Joseph believed in Almighty Yah. Joseph believed in Almighty Yah by the history and how he interacted with Pharaoh and so forth, and was able to do the things that he did, because we know the Egyptian gods ain't tell him to store no grain or do none of the things that he did, and that all that comes from Almighty Yah, a different God than what the Egyptians worship. We worship the real Creator. So Joseph worshiped Almighty Yah, and then when he was interacting with his brothers after they came to Egypt to buy grain, when there was a famine in the land, and our father Jacob sent them there, and then they had an interaction with Joseph, not knowing who he is, but that they were stating by a promise that they had made that they would bring their younger brother, and how did they put Yah name in it, and they was calling on Yah and telling Joseph and his messengers who he was sending to interact with the brothers after Joseph sent them away, and then put their money back in their bag and so forth, and then how his servants fell up on them to accuse them in order to give them a hard time and bring Benjamin in to see him, is how Judah, who spoke to Joseph, was telling them that he making a promise by Yah, by his God's name and so forth, and that how he would, bring the child, Benjamin, Joseph's youngest brother, back to see him, and he was explaining how that it would kill his father, that if Benjamin left and never returned, because they thought that Joseph was gone and dead and so forth, and the brothers didn't know that they was interacting with him. But if you read this story, you will see that they believed in Yah. They believed in Yah. That's Genesis 43. That they believed in Almighty Yah. They believed in Yah. And they was telling Joseph that, thinking that he was an Egyptian official and so forth. And then Joseph went on, and told him who he was, and peace be to you Fear not, your YAH and the YAH of your father have given you treasures in your sacks. And I had your money, and had he brought Simon out, man, to them. But anyway, it show you, that the Israelites, even though they was having difficulty with a perceived Egyptian who they thought Joseph was, is that they still called on the Creator. And those were the original forefathers, the patriarchs, however you pronounce that, the males, the founders of each tribe that would inherit some land, up on Exodus and so forth. All right, so we know that Joseph believed in the Creator, and his brothers and them did, and we know that Joseph's father Jacob believed in the Creator, Almighty Yah. We know that Jacob's father Isaac believed in the Creator because he was a living example in how he was finna be sacrificed like the Canaanite tribes do it, and then how that he was saved, and that how he would believe. And then we know that Prophet Abraham, the founder of our belief, believed in the Creator. So when did the Israelites get messed up with worshiping false gods? You're gonna have to go to Exodus, and that'll be Exodus 31. And it'll be Exodus 31. And then it'll go, let me see, Exodus 31. Speak unto the children of the same verse. All right, let's see. And Moses and the people saw that when we exodus Egypt, when we went into Egypt as a people and dwelled there because of the famine, and that how we didn't exodus, immediately, but stayed there for a good 300 years, is that the Israelites picked up Egyptian worship. It got caught up in us and so forth. And this shows this, been up on Exodus. With Prophet Moses, look. And when the Elohim, and when the people saw, this is Exodus 32. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we want not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, or your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people broke off golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron, and he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a golden calf. And they said, These are the gods of O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar for it. See, that messed us up right there. That messed us up, and how did that kind of like entity stayed within our heritage from Exodus to the time that we was destroyed in the book of Jeremiah is going to be about 800 years. 800 years off and on that we did false god worship. And I can show this, and I'm also show that Almighty Yah didn't want us worshiping no false gods or no gods, period. And that how we was to stay on course like Prophet Abraham did, and Prophet Isaac did, and Prophet Jacob did, and his sons did. We are their children, and we failed. All right, man. Let's go to Exodus 20. Exodus 20, and I'm gonna read this out the Torah and see how it read. It should read a little stronger. Exodus 20. All right, Exodus 19. Exodus 20, verse 3. Yah spake all these words, saying, I am the Elohim, I the Elohim am your Yah, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. Ye shall have no other gods besides me. Look, you shall have no other gods besides me. Ye shall not make for yourself a sculptured image or any likeness of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. Ye shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I the Elohim, your YAH, am impressionate YAH, visiting the iniquity of the parents upon the children, upon the third and upon the fourth generation of those who reject me. All right, now check this out. Now Almighty YAH said, ye shall not make for yourselves a sculptured image or any likeness of what is in the heavens above or on the earth beneath. So you can't make no image of Almighty YAH, and you can't say that Almighty YAH come from the birth of this woman or God's son and so forth, because that's something from the earth. You know, he said don't associate him with anything from the heavens in the earth or all the waters of the seas, that you can't bring no entity out of it and say this is the creator or this is associated with him and so forth. You see, that should have been easy for the Israelites to do. We got an easy way of worship. We Israelites do. Is that all we got to do is just believe in Yah, and we ain't even got to believe in none of that other stuff that our enemies believe in. Man, we got it made, and that's our power. Look, all right, go to Deuteronomy. Ye shall not have no other gods before me. You see, that's Exodus 23. And then go to Deuteronomy. Man, let's go to Deuteronomy 5:7, and let's see what it say. 5:7, and it says, ye shall have no other gods besides me. Look, ye shall have no other gods besides me. So where did the Israelites get these gods that they worship today? They got them from the slavery days, from our captor, and I show you that our captors gonna be in alignment with serpent worship, or a descendant from the serpent, and then how they gonna put the serpent religions on us. And that's all the religions that's not Yah worship is gonna be coming off that serpent worship. And no matter how good it sound or what type of moral stuff it show. Look, I the Elohim am your YAH, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the house of bondage. Ye shall have no other gods besides me. Ye shall not make for yourself a sculptured image in any likeness of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters below the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. Now, that's in Exodus and Deuteronomy. That's easy. That's easy. That's easy to do. So we was told not to worship other gods, and it was constantly told to us. Man, let's go to Deuteronomy 12:30, 12:30, and see what it say. Deuteronomy 12:30, 12:30. 12:30. All right. 12:30. Beware of being lured into the ways after they have been wiped out before you. Do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations worship their gods? I too will follow those practices. You shall not act this toward the Elohim your Yah, for they perform for their gods every abhorrent act that the Elohim detests. They even offered up their sons and their daughters in fire meant to their gods. Be careful to observe only that which I enjoy upon you, neither add to it nor take away from it. So if you a transatlantic slave trade descendant and you worshiping any religion, I don't care what it is. I don't care who gave it to you, your mama, your granddaddy, your uncle could have gave it to you. If it's not worshiping the creator only that Abraham worshiped, that Isaac worshiped, that Jacob worshiped, and that his sons worshiped, then you been tricked and you doing false God worship. You see, a false God worship was created in the earth quite a few times, and it got a lot of members and so forth, and they put that false God worship on the Israelites when we was captured in Africa after running into Africa to do false God worship. And then we was took into slavery. Look, we some messed up people. We left the promised land, the land that we own and had control of, to do Egyptian religion. We couldn't do it on the land, so we was getting kicked off. And instead of turning our faith to say, well, let's go back to YAH worship, changing our faith, is that we decided to go off into Egypt to worship their religion, the very religion that was causing us destruction. Okay, then we get captured in Africa after sojourning there for quite a while, and then we was taken to America, and they put another form of false God worship on us. False God worship. We Israelites been having a bad time. Bad time. In everything, in every religion that is not promoting YAH worship. And then they're going to trick you and try to say, well, this God's son worship is off YAH worship. And that YAH sent his son to do this. But you can't find that nowhere in Tanakh history with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob or his sons having any understanding of that, and how that they only wanted their descendants to do YAH worship. YAH worship. So something ain't right. So if you a transatlantic slave trade descendant and you in America or you anywhere else and you worshiping any gods other than what Abraham worshiped, not adding anything to it, then you gonna be, caught up in the serpent worship, in the serpent's religions that was set up to ensnare the earth and keep it messed up until the Israelites come back into their heritage after being punished, because the Creator know that the Israelites was gonna mess up and break bad. So we see that, that Deuteronomy 12:30 says, beware of being lured into their ways after they have been wiped out before you. Do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations worship their gods? When we left Egypt, being freed from false god worship and just having it associated with us, and going to the promised land to get rid of the false god worship, Almighty Yah didn't want us to inquire about the false god worship, which would ensnare. And we Israelites did everything we wasn't supposed to do. All right, man, let's go back to Exodus 23. Let's see what Exodus 23. I had that down for a reason. Man, there's so many verses. Man, there's so many verses in the Tanakh where the Creator is constantly stressing, don't worship no other gods and only worship me. And that how I'm your Savior. And that how we Israelites couldn't hold fast to that. We couldn't hold fast to that. Like I said, if you're an Israelite, if you're an African American, a Negro, a black, or those titles that was created for the transatlantic slave trade descendants, you're an Israelite. And if you worshiping any other gods or any religion, I don't care what it is or who gave it to you, if you worshiping any religion that's not exactly like how Abraham worshiped the Creator, then you're going to be doing false God worship. Ain't no question about it. That's just how it is. All right, we go to Exodus 23:13, and it reads, be on guard concerning all that I have told you. Make no mention of the names of other gods, they shall not be heard of on your lips. See, Almighty God didn't want us worshiping or fooling with no other gods. Man, let's go to let me jump in Psalms real quick. Psalms, that'd be Psalms 81. Psalms 81. Psalms 81. And what it says. Psalms 81:9. There shall no strange God be in thee, neither shalt thou worship any strange gods. I am the Elohim thy Yah, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open thy mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. Yeah, see, we got messed up. See, we gonna stay messed up as a people if we not doing Yah worship. All right, so let's go to Deuteronomy 6:14. Deuteronomy 6:14. Deuteronomy 6:14. Yeah, we Israelites can't worship no other gods, and we, I'm gonna show you when we messed up, and if the Tanakh telling you this, and that we worship only Him before then it's easy to come up off them other false religions, because you know what caused false religion. It is the peoples that didn't worship Almighty Yah, and how you be caught up in a system and belief and so forth. And that ain't what we supposed to do. And it's easy for us to just do Yah worship. And you'll see the rewards from it. Alright, let's go to 6:14. 6:14. 6:14. And it reads, do not follow other gods. Look. This is after Tanakh. Look. Alright. Do not follow other gods, any gods of the people about you, for the Elohim your Yah in your midst is an impression of Yah, lest the anger of the Elohim your Yah blaze forth against you, and he wipe you off the face of the earth. See, that's why we having our troubles now, is because we worship gods that was given to us in the slavery days. Believing in Jesus is not Abraham's worship, or Isaac, or Jacob. So if you believe in Jesus, or the Madonna, or Buddha, and any of those gods that was given to us after the covenant broke, then you are doing false God worship. And Israel must resist false God worship. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 8, 9, 19. Let's see what it say. All right. If you do forget the Elohim your Yah and follow other gods to serve them or bow down to them, I warn you this day that ye shall surely perish. You shall certainly perish. Look. This is Deuteronomy 8:19. If you do forget the Elohim your Yah and follow other gods to serve them or bow down to them, I warn you this day that ye shall certainly perish. Like the nations that the Elohim caused to perish before you, so shall you perish, because you did not heed the voice of the Elohim. All right, 800 years later, that happened. We perished because we did the Egyptian religion. Man, if you go to Jeremiah chapter 44. Jeremiah chapter 44. Verse 15, 16, 17, and 18. This is our last act on the promised land, and this would cause our enslavement and cause us to be taken to a strange land to worship false gods that our forefathers didn't know nothing about. Jesus. Abraham didn't know about Jesus. Isaac didn't know about Jesus. Jacob did not know about Jesus. They didn't know anything about no God's son coming to save the Israelites after the covenant was broken. They didn't have no understanding of that. and that was something given to the Israelites in captivity. Look, so this is what we did to cause our problems, is how we went to worship false gods like the Creator told us not to. Look, this is during the Babylonian Wars, 588 BC. Look, then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwell in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. So we were so messed up. We were so messed up. We were so messed up in our latter history, where we had been from Exodus, where we had solid instructions to resist false gods, and that how we can't worship no gods. No gods. I don't care if you say this is a God's son, this is cousin, this is brother, this is uncle. You can't worship no gods, and how that you can only worship YAH. And that us not doing that, going into Egypt to worship their religion, caused our enslavement. Caused our enslavement. Caused our enslavement. Man, go to Deuteronomy 28:14. Let's see what it say. Man, I just opened the Tanakh and turned right to the page. So you know Almighty y'all want us to know this. Look. And do not deviate to the right or to the left from any of the commandments that I enjoy upon you this day, and turn to the worship of other gods. But if you do not obey the Elohim your YAH to observe faithfully all his commandments and laws which I enjoy upon you this day, all these curses shall come upon you and take effect. Cursed shall ye be in the city, and cursed shall ye be in the field. Oh man, all them curses there. And then he even had some curses where you'll be taken to a strange land, men to worship false gods. False gods. And I'm talking about taken to a land where you're going to be forced to worship false gods and so forth. Look, man, that'd be Deuteronomy 28:26. The Elohim will drive you and the king you have set over you to a nation unknown to you or your fathers, where ye shall serve other gods of wood and stone, and ye shall be a consternation, a proverb, and a byword among all the peoples to which the Elohim will drive you. That's how we got the Negroes, black, African American titles on us, is because we left the promised land to go do the Egyptian religion, false god worship, and was captured in Africa and taken to some false god worship, and then we got false names on us. It's just like the scripture said. All right, let's go to Exodus 34. Let's see what Exodus 34 say. Exodus 34. All right, Exodus 34:14. For thou shalt worship no other gods, for the Elohim whose name is jealousy is a jealous YAH. So how is the Creator going to let you worship a God's son? How is you going to worship a God's son if the Creator jealous and he don't want you worshiping no other gods? That's contradictory. He didn't tell us to worship no other gods. Now that the information of worshiping other gods are gonna come to the people that's been against the real Israelites and trying to keep their heritage hid and so forth. All right, so let's go to what is Deuteronomy 5 5:9. Alright, I'm right here. 5:9. And let's see what it says. I'm working out of 2 books. I'm working out of 2 Tanakhs. Ye shall not bow down to them or serve them, for you shall not make for yourself a sculptured image, any likeness of what is in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters below the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Elohim, your Yah, am an passionate Yah, visiting the iniquities of the parents upon the children. Alright, so we know all this. So we know that, that we Israelites cannot worship no other gods, and that how worshiping false gods caused our problems, and that's just stipulated throughout the Tanakh. And that if you worshiping any god or any religion given to you that is not Yah worship, if you are descended from the transatlantic slave trade and you worshiping any religion or any gods that Prophet Abraham didn't worship or didn't have any knowledge about, how you've been tricked, and that you are not worshiping the way that Prophet Abraham did. And if you are Israelite, there's consequences for that. Alright, shalom, Israelites. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Israelite must resist false God worship, and it's easy because all you got to do is just believe in the Yah that Abraham believed in, Isaac and Jacob and Moses. You can't go wrong, and don't add nothing to that. It's very simple. We got it easy.